Do you guys ever look at like morning routines of certain people and you wonder, 5 a.m.? Are you serious right now? I'm lucky if I can get up at like 7:30 on good days, especially if you're a mama and you have young kiddies that are disrupting your sleep halfway through the night and you're sort of sitting there like, that sounds awesome. You have a schedule as open as a book, and your only obligation is to show up to class on time. Not really realistic, right? So I thought that in today's video, I would give you guys a more realistic approach of what you can actually do within your morning routine that will help you create a more positive start to your day. So why don't we get started? Hey guys, what's going on? It's Meshi with Meshi TV. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. I thought that today we would actually just chat about morning routines and really shed a light on a more realistic approach to an actual morning routine that I end up using almost every single day. And I wanted to make this video because I thought that while I'm all for getting up early in the morning, I thought that that was like such a great idea for, get up at 5 and do an hour-long workout and journal for another hour and plan your day and then you're good to go. I agree with that, so I'm not trash talking the 5 a.m. morning routine by any means, but I thought that I would actually just back up a little bit, like you're putting your car in reverse for a moment, and we would talk more about a morning routine that might be a little bit more realistic for most of you, especially if you're just getting started and maybe you manage to maintain your New Year's resolution commitments that you have made for yourself. Why don't we just begin there? How about that? So I'm going to show you guys about a 10 to 15 minute little flow that I have created that has helped me in just creating more movement within my body. And I'm going to just highlight some of the key points that will help you guys create a more realistic morning routine. And this is by no means to say that you shouldn't actually strive towards the 5 a.m. hour-long workouts. I think that that's an excellent goal, but I would not create that as your starting point. I would create getting up about half an hour earlier than you normally would as your starting point. And I hear this from so many influencers that, creating a proper morning routine is very important, and I couldn't agree more. But I just think that honoring also where you're at is also just as important, because if we don't, then it's almost like we're just throwing these blanket statements out there and not actually meeting ourselves and honoring ourselves where we're at and which chapter of our lives we're in, what season of our lives we're in right now. Because if you're a business owner and you run a business and you're just at the beginning portions of it and you're in the hustle and the grind of it, or your children are under the age of 10 with a million activities, or you have a large family, or you have aging parents, all of those things will pull you right out of your regular sort of equilibrium, sort of say. And I think that it's very important to set really, really big and audacious goals, but it's also very realistic and more important for you to work your way back from that and give yourself an appropriate timeline where you can start meeting that. I see so many of you, especially within the planner community and in different mom groups, and one of your number one struggles consistently comes up as you have this really unhealthy relationship with your exercise routine and with your wellness program in general, because you feel like you're constantly racing and you're not able to catch up. And that's such a crappy feeling, to work so hard and never really get to a point where you're semi-able to celebrate at least some of your wins or make progress. So I thought that why don't we just wipe that slate clean a little bit, and why don't we just start with maybe waking up about half an hour earlier than you normally would. So plan your day out the day before. Grab your planner. You know you have one. I'm not even going to go there. I know you already have a planner. Whether it's a digital planner or you actually have a physical planner or you have both, perfect. And stop stickering. Start looking at what it is that is actually going, what's like the 3 things that will get me closer for me to win my morning. For me personally, hands down, packing lunches for my children the night before, at least getting the snacks ready and creating a meal plan for my children for their lunches. Because honestly, I just find it exhausting to constantly having to come up with something new and unique for them to be like, oh, that tastes awesome. So for me, meal planning is one of the number 1 things, at least for their lunches, and prepping it the night before, writing out like my main focuses and creating a time specific schedule has been super helpful. And also movement, and movement will I'll bring you over to I will bring you over to my living room where I will show you just a very basic, easy routine that I wish somebody would have told me when I first started, because honestly, that would have been a whole lot more realistic. I don't know, like an hour and a half long practice in another city at like 6 o'clock in the morning after like a really long day. To me, that's not realistic. And it took me a little while and a lot of struggle for me to realize how unrealistic my goals were, how unrealistic those high expectations were, and how much I was actually trying to please people that don't really respect me. Do you know what I mean? So like, just tune into your body and see really what your motivation is, why you're setting those goals to begin with. Because you're actually not happy with your current weight, or is it because then that way you can say that you're that specific weight and then, you know, there's no weight police. How about that? Let's just start there. That's another conversation, but for now I just thought I would just start with very basics, guys. If you're at the beginning of your wellness journey and you haven't worked out for a while, start with very basics and give yourself easy, quick wins, even if, I'm telling you, even if it feels really dumb, even if it feels really tedious and you're halfway through rolling your eyes, and even if when you show up to your mat and you start moving, your internal dialogue says, this sucks. This is terrible. Why do we have to show up? The mat is cold. I feel the breeze on my low back right now. These pants actually don't fit. You get the point. So even if that's your internal dialogue, just know that it takes about 10 to 15 minutes for your internal dialogue to kind of quiet down and your mind to be in that zone where you can actually do whatever you want it to do. So if you know that that's your time specific thing, see if you can start with 10 to 15 minutes, but then potentially work your way up to about half an hour. And half an hour of movement in the morning, first thing in the morning, is so much more realistic than for you to try to like cram in an hour and a half. Now listen, if you are working out regularly, if you are showing up to the gym and you're doing your AM practice and you go to yoga, you're running, you're whatever, that's not like, these tips are, I'm not talking to you. Like, you already have a wellness routine that is like bang on. I applaud you. This is for those of you that are struggling where you start and you stop, and then you start for a few days, and then after you get really sore, and then you pull something, and then you curse for like 5 weeks. Those are those of you that are really inconsistent and really frustrated. This video is for those of you. So before you start hating me in the comments of like, so am I not good enough for that? No, listen, I feel you. Spring is coming. I'm going to be not only on my mat, but I'm also going to be starting my running program because I'm itching. You have no idea. Basically, new pairs of shoes are waiting for me and says, girl, let's get going. Let's start running. So I'm definitely one of the most ambitious wellness routines that you will find, but I didn't start out there. I started out with, you know, a couch to 5K program that would say you need to run for 2 minutes, and then after that you need to walk for like 5 minutes, and I would be just rolling my eyes the entire like half an hour while I was out. So I just think that we need to start realistic. I think that you need to gather people around you that are also going to cheer you on. Count me in, ladies. If this is where you're at, comment below and let me know what your starting point is, because then we also need to have accountability. So I would love to cheer you guys on. Okay, so once you've gone through a few rounds of deep breathing, now we're ready to get moving. So first thing that I like to do is just to bring some gentle movement into not only my neck, but also my spine. Because if you continue to just move through some basic movements every single morning, you're actually bringing fresh fluid, fresh blood to those areas, and you're creating some beautiful space. And at your next inhale, begin slow little circles that you create with your entire trunk. So when you're inhaling, you inhale for a half circle and a slow and deliberate of a movement that you can make it. And on your exhale, you can slowly start rounding out your back, just bringing slow, intentional movements into your practice. And just move with your own breath 3 more times. And the more circles you make, the more deliberate those movements can get. But the idea is that slow and controlled. And make sure that your sit bones are firmly grounded to the floor. What you don't want is to be constantly lifting off. You want nice and slow and waking up your spine, one vertebrae at a time. Beautiful. Now we can move on to our last movement, which also brings some more movement within your spine. So basically come into a nice tabletop where your knees are about hip width apart and your arms are also about shoulder width apart, and your feet is tucked under, and from a neutral spine, inhale into cow, and exhale, tuck your head and bring your navel as close to your spine as possible, and your exhale. Inhale, round back. Exhale, no. Inhale, inhale into cat. Exhale, and as you push all of the air out from your lungs, you can move into just rounding out your back. So you want that nice fluidity between these movements. You can also gently bring some swaying motion in and out, waking up your shoulders and your hips. And from here, you can sit back into child's pose if that's in your practice. And then your next inhale, you can lift your hips and walk to the top of your mat. Hang here for a few breaths. I'll show it from the side. So hang here, generous bend in the knees, and allow your spine to be nice and long. Again, we're creating lots of space here. And your next inhale, inhale halfway, bringing your shoulder blades together. Then exhale, forward fold. Then inhale, hands up, and come to heart center. And from the top of the mat, once you're standing, you can come back down to the ground. And again, we're back into that seated posture, that nice and easy pose. You can place your left hand down on the ground, firmly push down while you bring your right arm up. And again, we're opening up the chest area. Nice even breath. Inhale back to center. Exhale, place your hand down on the mat. And inhale into the other side. Let's move with your own breath. Then come back to center. Place your hands on your knees. Close your eyes. Connect back to your breath. Check the integrity of your breath. Is it smoother? Is it velvety? Or is it jagged? How are your thoughts? If you haven't set an intention for the day, this would be the perfect time. You can bring your hand to make almost like a small triangle. Place it in front of you. And I want you to imagine how you want to spend your day today. Maybe it's one word. If you're new to setting intentions, think of one word that would represent your day. Think of one phrase that you really wanted to embody. And I want you to bring that forth to the conscious mind. At the next exhale, allow it to let it go right into the void. And inhale, hands up. Exhale to heart center. And bow in gratitude. This is all I wanted to share with you. I hope that you found this helpful and useful. If you did, please comment below and let me know what was the one thing that has helped you the most and how you're doing in your own wellness journey. And in the meanwhile, if you are brand new and you have joined me in this video, thank you so much for sharing your time and your space with me. I so appreciate you. And consider subscribing if you haven't already. We chat a few times a week here on this channel. And we talk about anything and everything lifestyle. I wanted to talk to you about planning, about movement, about yoga, about how we can live and how we can design a more consciously driven life. So if that sounds good, I think you're really going to love it here. Okay, and in the meanwhile, keep seeking, wellness seekers, and just know that you're so much more powerful than you think. And I will see you guys again in my next video. Bye.